Hey, how you doing? This is Craig Beck from StopDrinkingExpert.com, and welcome into this episode. I want to talk about something really important and something that has a bit of stigma attached to it as well. There's a lot of people struggling with this around the world, millions of people, but a lot of them don't want to admit it. There's a load of stigma, there's a load of shame attached to it, and that is loneliness. Nobody wants to really admit that they're lonely, but sobriety and alcohol seem to be interwoven with the problems of loneliness, and that's what I want to talk about today. Before we go any further, let me just remind you that Quit Drinking Bootcamp is on the road again, but I'm not doing many this year, so I don't want you to miss out. If you've been thinking about coming to bootcamp and dealing with problem drinking in one amazing day, then book your ticket now or you will miss out. London, where I am now, is coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and then we've got New York in April, on the 25th of April. Get your ticket now before you miss it. Go to StopDrinkingExpert.com. Okay, let's talk about loneliness, because I get a lot of emails from people saying, Craig, look, I want to quit drinking. Alcohol's destroying my life. But if I quit drinking, how am I going to cope with the loneliness? Or if I quit drinking, then I'm going to get bored, then I'm going to get lonely, and then I'm going to want to drink again, and I'm in a loop. How do I stop that? Now, the first thing to talk about, and by the way, this is something I understand really well because I've dealt with both of these issues quite a lot in my life. I know it sounded a little strange because here I am standing up making an exhibition of myself. And you know, I've been a broadcaster for 20 years of my life. I stand on the stage and talk to people, and here I am kind of being a YouTuber. It may sound strange for me to tell you that I'm an introvert, but I am. I'm an extroverted introvert, as in I can turn it on when I need to, but my default position is to be on my own. And to my detriment a lot of the time, because what it means is that given the opportunity to socialize, to go out, to party, or to be on my own, I will choose the latter. I will choose to be on my own by default, and this creates loneliness. So when I work on myself, I really have to push myself not to go to my default all the time. Otherwise, I end up with pain in my life. So I understand where you're coming from if you're suffering with loneliness and it's making you miserable, and at the moment you're using alcohol. The problem with this is there is an assumption here that is erroneous, is incorrect. And the assumption is that alcohol helps with loneliness, or alcohol helps you cope with the pain that loneliness creates. And that's not true. The truth is that there is not one single benefit to drinking alcohol, not one. And if you're using alcohol to solve or to cope with any of your problems in life, I can guarantee you alcohol is not only not fixing the problem, it is actually giving you more of the problem than you started with in the first place. This is true of everything. For example, sleep. Alcohol jumps up and says, hey, I can help you sleep. And it's true enough, you drink the alcohol and you go to sleep. But you don't stay asleep, do you? Maybe for a couple of hours, and then you wake up feeling terrible, and then you spend the rest of the night tossing and turning and having very poor quality sleep until the alarm goes off, and you can't believe that you have to drag yourself to work having had virtually no sleep. This is true of everything, including loneliness. So you're on your own, you're feeling lonely, and alcohol says, hey, you don't need to deal with this, just drink me, I'm an anesthetic, I'm going to make you into a zombie, and all this pain's going to float away. Unfortunately, people who use alcohol to deal with their problems get into a loop with it. They become problem drinkers, and alcohol will actually push you to be on your own more than you would if you weren't drinking. Often problem drinkers will choose solitude than socializing because we prefer to do our drinking on our own. Why? Well, because there's nobody there to question what we're doing. Also, we can drink at the speed that we want to drink at. You know, a lot of problem drinkers who do socialize will find that they top up before they go out. They will drink a lot of alcohol before they go out because they know that people that they're out with will not be drinking at the same speed as them. Lots of other problem drinkers will choose just to drink on their own because nobody monitors what they're doing, nobody questions it. They can create their plausible deniability. They can say to themselves, I'm only having a few glasses of wine a night, when actually it's a couple of bottles. Nobody challenges them. And as a species, we're programmed to move away from pain. And when it comes to problem drinking, rather than deal with the cause of the pain, the actual drinking, it's easier for us to move away from the pain of people challenging us on it. So whereas you may have been given the chance to go out and socialize, if you're a problem drinker, the chances are you're going to take the option to go home alone and drink your preferred choice of poison. But so firstly, the first important point to make is alcohol doesn't help with loneliness, it makes it worse. That is true of everything. The second thing I want to say is that loneliness is a sleight of hand. It's an illusion because it's not really what it appears to be. First of all, there is another assumption we have to talk about here, and that is the assumption that the solution to the problem of loneliness is something external. That if you only had more friends, more people to hang out with, more of a social scene, you would feel better. This is an erroneous assumption as well, because, well, we can prove it's wrong. It is entirely possible to be in a crowd of 2,000, 5,000 people and feel lonely. And it is entirely possible to be on your own for hours, days, weeks, months, and be completely happy and at peace. And so what that proves to us is the solution to loneliness is not an external event. It is an internal state. And that is true of everything in life. Everything that you're not happy with in your life at the moment, the solution is not external. It is within you already. It is entirely possible to be completely peaceful and happy in solitude. So that's the first thing I want to say. The solution to loneliness is not to have more friends. Because what you're going to find if you go out trying to get friends into your life to solve your loneliness is you're going to find that 99% of these people are not really your friends. They just want something from you. And you'll see this on social media. Now, at one point I had 2,000 friends on Facebook. Didn't know 1,950 of them. Wouldn't know if I met them in the street. But that's the weird thing about social media. I think I'm down to about 100 friends on Facebook now. And the other thing about social media you have to be careful with is it creates a false reality. You know, you must be careful when you look at social media because it does appear on the surface that all our friends are having much better lives than us. All our friends are having so much more fun, socializing so much more, have much less worries. Their kids are doing amazing at school. They're doing fantastic in their job. They're getting promotions. They're getting new cars. They're getting houses. They're getting vacations. It appears on the surface they're having a much better time of it than us. And this is depressing. Don't look at social media as though it's real. It's a fantasy. I know people on Facebook and I know them intimately. I know exactly what they're worried about. I know what challenges they're facing. I know what their relationship's like. And let me tell you, the reality bears no resemblance to the picture that they paint in public on social media. So be careful with that. Now, the second really important point I want to make about loneliness is loneliness most of the time is not really loneliness. We have applied the wrong label to the emotion that we're feeling. Loneliness is generally fear. Because if you think about it, no matter where you live in the world, you have options. And you can go out on an evening and do something. You don't have to know anyone, but this is how you meet people, isn't it? You know, you could go to night school, you could start learning a language, you could go to art classes, you could go to theatre appreciation groups, you could get involved in drama or singing or music. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you think about it, there is something you could go do at any moment, night or day, because that's the world we live in. But you choose not to. You choose to sit at home and say, oh, I'm so miserable, I'm so lonely. It's not loneliness, it's fear. It's a fear of, and it could be a variety of fears. It could be a fear of success, it could be a fear of failure, it could be a social anxiety, it could be a fear of, but some element of fear is keeping you in your comfort zone. Now, it's really important to understand that your comfort zone is a very safe place to be. Nothing's going to hurt you in your comfort zone. You are not exposed to any risk. You are not going to be rejected or shunned or embarrassed. You're perfectly safe as long as you stay within the confines of your comfort zone. But that's where your loneliness lives. You're choosing to live with loneliness. Your comfort zone is a beautiful, warm and comfortable place, but it's completely barren. Nothing grows there. It's sterile. And so to break loneliness, you have to break through the walls of your comfort zone. You have to go out and do stuff. You have to get out there. Now, of course, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Of course, you're going to be the new boy or the new girl if you go to a class or some sort of sporting thing or whatever you choose to do. But that's conquering fear. And you'll never progress, you'll never grow as an individual unless you conquer fear. And unfortunately, the only way to beat fear is to expose yourself to it. So I encourage you to stop thinking about loneliness as an external problem. There's nothing you can do about it. You have no power, because it's not true. It's not an external event. Loneliness is cured internally. It's by making a decision and then making an action repeatedly, forcing yourself to go do stuff. And this is exactly why alcohol is so detrimental to lonely people. Because on an evening, instead of sitting there thinking, right, what am I going to do to get out of this house? What am I going to do to be exposed to other human beings? Instead of thinking that, the evil clown of alcohol pops up in your head and says, you don't need to do that. The TV's right there, and the bottle of wine or the 6-pack of beer is right there. Sit yourself down on that sofa, job done. And unfortunately, you will do that every night for decades if you let the clown persuade you that is the solution. It is not. Once you get this nasty, poisonous anesthetic out of your life, you will be faced with two choices. You can sit on the sofa on your own, bored and lonely, and accept that that's how life's going to be, or you can do something about it. You can get out there and fill your time with something productive. Learn a language, go to art class, do something sporty, just be around other people. It's okay to be the new boy or the new girl, and you don't have to come home every night going, oh wow, I have so many friends now. Often just being with other human beings is a way of getting energy, is a way of feeling significant. And I encourage you to do that. And when you get this poison out of your life, I want you to start looking at some of the things that you used to do when you were younger, that you loved, that you had a great passion for, that the chances are you let slip because alcohol got a hold of you and stole it from you. Go back and do the stuff that you used to do and you used to love it. For me, photography. I stopped doing photography for like 15 years because the clown told me to drink, and I drank. When I stopped drinking, I actually became a professional photographer for a while. So that's what I'm saying to you. Go do stuff. Forget about the loneliness. That's just an incorrect label we're applying to it. Go make a decision, go be active, take action. Thank you for watching. If you are worried about your drinking, go to my website now, sign up for today's quick drinking webinar. It's free of charge, stopdrinkingexpert.com. I'll even give you a copy of my best-selling book, Alcohol Lied to Me, as a thank you for staying to the end of the webinar. And if you want to come to boot camp, don't delay. London is coming up real quick, and then it's New York. stopdrinkingexpert.com. Thank you for watching. See you soon.